Doug Ford defends his plans to build a tunnel under the 401, offering new details on his vision today.
Plus, not a yes, but not a no from the CEO of Metrolinx when asked again, could the Eglinton Crosstown LRT be ready to open in September?
Also tonight, the latest on trade negotiations with the U.S. The premier tells reporters he does not trust Donald Trump. It comes after he had separate phone calls with the prime minister and the president's commerce secretary, Howard Lutnick.
And you've probably heard the name Victoria Mboko by now. The rising tennis star from Burlington hits the court in about an hour. This is for her semifinal showdown at the National Bank Open. We are speaking live with fans at SoFi Stadium.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Welcome to Live at 5, and thanks so much for joining us. We begin with developing news. One person's been seriously injured after a shooting in Scarboro.
Toronto police were called to Lawrence and Warden Avenues. This was just before 4 o'clock this afternoon for reports of a shooting. So when they got there, they found a male victim with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. And so officers say 3 suspects, they left the scene. They were last spotted going northbound on Warden, but provided no description. That investigation is ongoing.
And a man's been found shot after a 2-vehicle crash in North York this afternoon.
Yeah, Toronto police were called to the Downview Park area just after 1 o'clock for a 2-vehicle crash. When they got there, they located a man who had been shot. He was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And officers say that one of the vehicles that drove away from the scene, that happened after the crash. So no other injuries have been reported. That investigation is ongoing as well.
Well, police have released images of 2 suspects wanted on Canada-wide warrants in a deadly shooting in the parking lot of Yorkdale Mall last month.
Yeah, 23-year-old Brian Emmanuel Fuentes Gramajo of Longueuil, Quebec, and 28-year-old Jimmy Pruden of Montreal. They're wanted for first-degree murder. A third suspect, 20-year-old Bradley Lucate Nicholas, was arrested Monday in Quebec and charged with first-degree murder.
28-year-old Kashif Jamal Bentley Jean was gunned down in that parking lot of the mall just after 6 a.m. on July 17th. Investigators say the shooters fled the area before officers could get there. Anybody with information is asked to call police.
Well, the CEO of Metrolinx will not say when the Eglinton Crosstown LRT is going to open, despite the province previously suggesting that it could be running by next month.
Yeah, for the latest on the long-delayed transit project, let's bring in CP24's Sija Liu. You've been speaking with residents in the area tonight. Do they find this surprising?
No, not at all at this point. It's they will believe it when they see it when it comes to the opening of the LRT. We spoke to the CEO of Metrolinx today. We asked him, will it be open for September? That was a target date we heard from Premier Doug Ford. We didn't get a yes, we didn't get a no, we got it. It depends on safety and reliability. But he gave us some more insight into what is causing the latest holdup when it comes to the official opening of the LRT, and it has to do with the aging trains. And the reason I say aging is because this has been under construction for 14 years now. These trains were actually built a decade ago, and only now are they starting to clock the type of mileage they were meant to in the daily service. And that is because they have been doing stress testing every day to make sure these trains are safe and reliable. But that stress testing is leading to some vulnerabilities being exposed. Here's more from the CEO of Metrolinx on that.
Every day, well before 6 a.m., our partners at the TTC turn up to drive these vehicles and put them through their paces until 2 in the morning. And as at late July, TTC personnel are also now showing up at Eglinton stations to put the non-rolling stock infrastructure through its paces too. Escalators, elevators, HVAC systems, etc. What we are finding out from this deliberate period of stress testing is that one of the issues to address collectively is vehicle availability and reliability. These vehicles are 10 years old. They're only just now beginning to run the kilometers that were intended for revenue service. And as we do that, we find out what their maintenance profile is. We get a better picture of how to keep them in service so that we can build the availability of vehicles to a level that can meet peak capacity.
And a lot of commuters are getting a bit of a tease seeing these trains run every couple of minutes along Eglinton. They have a not in service sign because they are undergoing stress testing, like you just heard. Here's some more reaction from commuters today on this latest possible delay.
I was thinking it's going to open in next 6 months every time, but then it keeps getting delayed. But if it opens, I think I can commute very fast. But right now it's taking too long. In the Google map, it shows like 20 minutes, but the actual time doubles. Like it takes 40 minutes for me to travel because of the construction.
This is so inconvenient, and the buses take forever. It takes me like an hour and 45 minutes just to get somewhere, which normally takes 20 minutes driving.
So the big question tonight is still, will it open in September? Bakari, Lena, we don't have a yes or no. It depends. So still a lot of timing issues up in the air. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, still not a yes. Sija, thanks so much for this. Well, staying with transit news, the premier is defending his plans to build a tunnel under Highway 401 following a report earlier this week that suggests a previous study of the project was shelved in the province back in 2021.
I know it's costing our economy $56 billion every single year in traffic congestion, not to mention mental health alone, just sitting in this traffic jam every single day, seeing the 401 just absolutely jammed. I drove by, I keep telling you, I drove by at midnight. The place, the 401's packed along Kipling and that. I'm thinking, where's everyone going at midnight? But at one time we thought we'd have 2 tunnels, but now some creativity, 1 tunnel, 3 levels, and it's going to serve the people for decades to come. You know, I'll be pushing up tulips by the time everyone's riding this full steam.
Ford was asked about the tunnel after a global news report earlier this week suggested a previous study of the tunnel was conducted in 2021, but that was never made public. Now, the report says an internal assessment found several problems with the tunnel proposition, including technical and financial issues and a potential risk to public safety. So earlier this year, the province announced a request for proposals seeking interested parties to help carry out a feasibility study on the tunnel. That study is not expected to be complete until February of 2027.
And Premier Doug Ford is challenging the judge who overturned a provincial plan to remove bike lanes from some of Toronto's main routes. And he did not hold back when speaking with reporters today.
Yeah, the premier says that he's confident that an appeal of ruling is going to go the province's way. Now, Ford ran part of his last election campaign on a promise to move dedicated bike lanes along parts of Bloor, Yonge, and University. There's been some debate whether or not the removal of the lanes would hinder or help the flow of traffic. And Ford says that the judge had no right to province's decision.
I've never seen a decision like this, that a judge overrules the people of Ontario because of ideology, not because of law, ideology. But we knew when they picked this judge where it was going anyway, so it's not a big surprise. I do have confidence in the courts and the Court of Appeal, and let's see what happens from there, and then we'll move forward.
Now, the city of Toronto and the province, they are trying to work out a compromise to please both sides, even though the city is pressing ahead with the court appeal.
Okay, right now it's 5:08, 28 degrees. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24 traffic specialist Heather Seaman. Good evening, Heather.
Good evening, Lena and Bakari. Well, a busy but steady drive on most of the major routes. Some areas busier than others. Let's start with the good news. There was a crash on the westbound 409 ramp at the 427. It just cleared a few seconds ago. It looks like they've reopened the lanes. You can see traffic is moving through that area once again. And reports of it's a collision, 401 eastbound collectors at Morningside. Don't have a visual on it, but you can see the backup there. Actually quite busy express and collectors through that area. Once again, a crash eastbound 401 collectors at Morningside. And the 404 southbound, we've been seeing a lot of volume through that area from about Finch to south of the 401. Northbound DVP, we're seeing the typical volume from about north of Danforth to north of Lawrence. And the westbound Gardner still dealing with a lot of volume. Again, the south, I'll mention it, Westbound Gardner, that is heavy from about Jarvis to west of Bathurst. And this camera is working, so I can show it to you. Westbound on the Gardner through South Kingsway, we're seeing a lot of volume through that area. Off the major routes, we still have that police investigation at Bloor and Dufferin. Another police investigation, Kiel and Downsview Park Boulevard. That's it. Back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks so much, Heather. Well, all eyes are on Burlington's Victoria Mboko at the National Bank Open as the teen sensation looks to extend her remarkable wildcard run tonight.
All right, CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live from SoBi Stadium. But the preview of tonight's match, Phil, I'm glad to see you actually made it onto the grounds because I heard you threw your pass away.
I threw my pass away because you know what? I'm used to those like throwaway passes that other teams, I'm not going to name names, they give you this flimsy paper pass that makes you feel very not important, doesn't even have a profile picture, and then you throw it away that day. Well, here at the National Bank Open, they gave us a plastic one with my picture on it, but still, muscle memory, I threw it out. So they gave it to me. It's good to go for the rest of the tournament. Here at York University, this is the men's side, and while people are going to be watching right now a doubles match happening, they are waiting on the two semifinal matches for the men's side. That's going to happen in the evening when it's cooled down a little bit. But eyes will also be on 18-year-old Victoria Mboko out of Burlington. She is set to have her most important match of her young career. This is the first time that she has reached a WTA Level 1000 semifinal in her young career. It's happening in less than an hour's time up against 9th seeded out of Kazakhstan, Alina Rybakina. She won Wimbledon in 2022, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be phasing the Burlington native out of Charlotte, North Carolina. That's because on her route to this, as a wild card, I mentioned, Lena mentioned that, she beat Coco Gauff, who is the second-ranked player in the WTA. She has 2 majors under her belt. And this run that she is on right now is inspiring both tennis players young and old. Here's what some had to say earlier today.
Well, I mean, it's been really incredible to see, you know, it's just, she's so young and she's so humble, and the way she's been able to hit the ball and her forehands and backhands and her strokes, it's really just something else that I really like. It's really hard to describe, you know. She's so young in that she just like went right up through the ranks, you know. She's in the top 50 now for women's, and she's so young, but like she has so much potential for her future that like it would be really incredible to see her win the National Bank Open. I mean, now that she's in the semifinals, I've seen, and yeah, I mean, it's really been really nice to watch on TV.
It's great, of course. Like, she's Canadian, she's been playing really well lately, and she's in the semis. Like, that's especially hard in Canada. It's really tough, especially like there's not a lot of like facilities, you could say. I mean, they have OT and stuff, but you can't exactly just, you got to play, you got to put in the work, and that's what she's been doing. It's been great.
She hasn't put in the work, and she's getting the recognition, guys. On Monday night during a quarterfinal, if you went to Victoria Mboko's WTA profile, it was a blank profile picture, nothing. Now, on a Wednesday night, you can now see her face. So she's getting some recognition in the tennis world. She's definitely doing it with authority. Back to you.
Yeah, rising star for sure. And she hits the court in what, Phil, just less than an hour now?
Yeah, I believe it is 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah. Okay, we're watching for that match very, very closely. And Phil, you'll, of course, continue to speak with tennis fans who are so inspired. Thank you for this. You're watching Live at 5.
A popular chocolate brand from Quebec is being pulled from shelves nationwide due to a serious health concern. Those details are just ahead. And people are being asked not to eat a popular chocolate. This is made by the brand Dubai over salmonella concerns.
Yeah, 9 people have been hospitalized. Dozens of salmonella cases have been reported after an outbreak linked to pistachios and pistachio-containing products. The Public Health Agency of Canada says 52 cases have been confirmed across 4 provinces since early March. Quebec has the most with 39, followed by 9 right here in Ontario. And joining us live with more on this is Keith Werner, food science professor at the University of Guelph. Professor, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us. That Dubai chocolate has gone viral on places like TikTok. A lot of people consuming this. We've talked about salmonella outbreaks on this show before. What stands out to you about this particular outbreak?
So it's kind of history repeating itself. The Salmonella Havana, which has been associated with the outbreak, has actually been associated with nuts and pistachios before. And I think it just goes to show when you've got a product like nuts, which have a very long shelf life, and also used in other products where you think, well, it should be safe, shouldn't it? So it can get widespread, and because the shelf life's so long, these outbreaks just really can expand very quickly.
Yeah, Keith, let's set a baseline. Please explain what exactly salmonella is and how it makes you sick.
Well, salmonella has certainly been around for many millions of years, and it's basically built to survive, not only in the environment, in soil where you think it would just die off, but when it invades, we consume salmonella, it kind of does this sort of stop-go, what we've seen in a famous program, isn't it? In that it tries to evade the immune system, and it can do that very successfully. Then once it gets down to your GI tract, it starts colonizing. In very rare cases for Havana, it'll internalize and go into your lymph nodes and give you septicemia and nasty things like that. But what you'll feel after about 24, 48 hours after consumption, the immune system detects it, and that's when everything breaks loose. We get the chills, the fever, the diarrhea, the vomiting, which typically would last a few days and then resolve itself. But when you're very young, like infants especially, and very elderly, your immune system isn't really up to the job of attacking it. And that's where you get this dehydration effect. And even worse with salmonella, it's what we call multi-drug resistant. So they can't give you antibiotics or anything like that unless it's really extreme case. So you've got to kind of weather the storm yourself, and all it can really do is hydrate you.
Okay, and when it comes to this case, experts are warning that it's the pistachios that are of concern, not the chocolate. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, it won't be surprised if it's a chocolate as well. Chocolate is an ideal carrier for salmonella. There's been outbreaks before, but thankfully it's controlled. So with nuts, essentially they're obviously grown in fields and things like that. And sometimes when the harvest's done, they give them a good shake so it falls to the ground. And if salmonella got into the soil by various means, from water, from animal activity, the salmonella can just live on that nut, even sometimes grow if the moisture's right. And the thing is, once it's on the nut, it goes into this hibernation, so it's very difficult to inactivate, even by roasting. So typically, because it's resistant and nuts go here, there, and everywhere in the world, when they get onto nuts, there's only a few treatments that can do to try and decontaminate them, to try and prevent it. But obviously in this case they've failed, and this is why we need better pasteurization methods like we're developing here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to have to ask an obvious question, but I mean, we're talking about salmonella on like non-meat or dairy products. Like, how does that work? Explain this.
So what can happen is that you'll get manure runoff, for example, into rivers, and you might get wild animals coming into nut-growing trees. And the thing about salmonella, it's very persistent. It's built to live in the environment, and it can be months, if not years. So if you use contaminated irrigation water, for example, that's another way of getting salmonella into the soil. And typically what they'll do, they might introduce animals into the orchard, and they deposit what animals deposit. So once salmonella gets into our environment, it can persist for a long time. And this is a problem we have down in the California and places like that. Salmonella is literally just endemic everywhere, and it can be a problem, especially given climate change, people like to say, because of climate change it survives better. But certainly it's an issue we have to address, and we can't just address that by hoping and preventing. We have to try and get interventions to decontaminate the nuts to make them safe.
That is for sure. And we want to put this out there as well. Health experts are saying if you're an individual or a retailer who has your hands on any of these products, you should just throw them out. They've been recalled. Keith Werner, food science professor at the University of Guelph. Thanks so much for explaining this to us. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith.
Pleasure. Thanks again.
It's 5:20, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, coming up, Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with premiers for the first time since Donald Trump escalated his trade war with Canada last week.
Premier Doug Ford says that he simply does not trust U.S. President Donald Trump. This is after speaking with the Prime Minister and other premiers.
Yeah, speaking at Queen's Park this afternoon, Doug Ford was asked about the U.S. imposing a 35% tariff on Canadian goods not covered by the existing U.S., Canada, Mexico trade deal. And now the Premier says he has questions and concerns about that trade deal. For more on this, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Bunnan to explain. Andrew.
Yeah, well, Lena Bakari, when you're hearing the Premier saying he doesn't trust Donald Trump, well, he said similarly to that before. What makes this very interesting is also just the bluntness of how he's describing the lack thereof of trust that he and seemingly the rest of Canada maybe could have with the leader of the free world, as it were. Now, there's two things that he said as part of this particular exchange with the reporters that were very interesting. One, he believes that CUSMA, or the USMCA, the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement you mentioned before, well, it's supposed to be looked at and renegotiated in 2026. He doesn't expect, Ford, that is, that the Americans will wait until then. He says it could be opened up for renegotiation as early as this year, sometime in November, even before then, he says. So with that in mind, and saying that he doesn't believe that this president is one to play by the rules, and also if you actually listen to old tape of Donald Trump from the early 2000s and beyond that, there are instances where he talked about, as a businessman, how much the rules can be a problem for trying to get things done and make money. So with that in mind, here's some of what the Premier said following the phone call with the Prime Minister.
This guy's coming at us. I just want to go on record. He's coming full bore at us. This isn't going to be a church picnic. This is going to be, let's get down to it, and we'll see what happens. I'm praying that everything's going to go fine. But if it doesn't, I got to ask the people, do you trust President Trump? I don't.
Now, the one good thing he said about his recent conversation with Howard Lutnick, which is one of the main secretaries for the U.S. president in the file of state, and also looking at he's really the tariff guy when it comes to how the White House has been preparing the rest of the world for this new world order, as it were. Now, he did say that Howard Lutnick, according to Ford, does like Canadians quite a bit, Lena Bakari. The question is, what does that mean when ultimately, according again to Ford, you can't trust his boss? Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Andrew Britton. Thanks, Andrew. It's 5:25, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Up next, the province tries to tackle Ontario's family doctor shortage. We'll tell you about a new possible compensation system. Those details are next. Welcome back. The province's doctors are about to get a new compensation deal with the province.
The Ontario Medical Association confirms to CP24 that the new deal is going to revamp the pay model for family doctors, roughly 6,500 of them. The new framework would allow doctors to bill for clinical and administrative tasks, including filling out forms and going over test results. In recent years, family doctors have been sounding the alarm about the amount of their time that's taken up by admin work. Now, the changes aim to encourage more doctors to go into family medicine and prevent those in the field from leaving.
And Health Minister Sylvia Jones wouldn't confirm a deal is imminent, but did say doctors should be well paid.
What I will tell you is that we have seen some very positive movement in terms of working with the OMA and other partners to make sure that as we expand our primary care opportunities, the physicians are well respected and get appropriate compensation for that.
Okay, so the deal is not finalized yet, but the OMA says that it has reached agreements with the province on most points, and then talks are expected to continue in the fall.
All right, it's 5:29, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, coming up, police are investigating a daylight shooting in Scarboro. It left a teenage boy seriously injured. Here's a live look at the scene right now. Doug Ford defends his plans to build a tunnel under the 401, offering new details on his vision today.
Plus, not a yes, but not a no from the CEO of Metrolinx. When asked again, could the Eglinton Crosstown LRT be ready to open in September?
And also this evening, the latest on trade negotiations with the U.S. The premier tells reporters he, quote, does not trust Donald Trump. This comes after he had separate phone calls with the prime minister and the president's commerce secretary, Howard Lutnick.
Plus, you've probably heard the name Victoria Mboko by now. The rising tennis star from Burlington hits the court in about half an hour for her semifinal showdown at the National Bank Open. We are speaking live with fans at SoBe Stadium.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
I'm Bakari Savage. One person has been seriously injured. This is in a shooting in Scarboro.
Yeah, Toronto police were called to Lawrence and Warden Avenues just before 4 o'clock this afternoon for reports of a shooting. These are live images coming to us from that crime scene this hour. You can see a very heavy police presence there, a number of cruisers, the intersection blocked off as well. Here's what else we can tell you. When officers arrived, they located a teenage boy with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. You can see this plaza also blocked off. Officers say 3 suspects fled the area. They were last spotted going northbound on Warden Avenue, but they haven't provided any suspect descriptions. They are, of course, as always, appealing to witnesses for information, and this investigation continues tonight. Keep it right here on CP24 for the very latest on this shooting from Scarboro.
Well, a man's been found shot after a 2-vehicle crash in North York. It happened this afternoon.
Toronto police called to the Downsview Park area just after 1 o'clock for a 2-vehicle crash. When they arrived, they found a man with a gunshot wound. That man taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Officers say one of the vehicles fled the scene after the crash. No other injuries have been reported, and the investigation continues.
I hear the noise, right, the crash. And then after I come and see close, I see the guy on the floor, come blood, him say something. People shoot me, but I don't hear nothing, I don't see. I see the guy run, but that's it.
It was really loud. I think everyone who was home came out.
How does it make you feel to see this happening? Cars crashing, somebody saying that they've been shot a few times. I mean, what's your mind?
The shooting part, I only found out afterwards. But obviously, it makes us feel very unsafe living in this neighborhood, right? But normally, it doesn't happen here.
And police say that they're looking for 2 suspects, both described as teenage boys.
Well, the CEO of Metrolinx will not say when the Eglinton Crosstown LRT will open, despite the province previously suggesting it could be running by next month.
And for the latest on the long-delayed transit project, let's go live to CP24. CJ.
Hey there, Lena Bakari. I'm here on Eglinton, your pharmacy, where every couple of minutes we have been seeing these LRT trains passing by, but they are not in service because right now they are undergoing daily stress testing. And it's a bit of a tease for commuters who are wondering, when will the LRT finally open? The latest target date we got was September. That's what the Premier told us, but that is still up in the air at this moment. Earlier today, the CEO for Metrolinx, Michael Lindsay, was asked, is it going to open in September? He didn't give us a yes or no. He gave us and it depends on safety and reliability. And the latest holdup with the opening date has to do with the aging trains. And the reason I say aging is because these trains were actually built a decade ago. This has been in construction for 14 years now. And only now, because of the stress testing, are they running the typical mileage it was supposed to. And that is revealing some reliability issues. So now they have to do some more testing. Here's more from the CEO of Metrolinx on that.
We're hoping that we're a few weeks away from being able to say that we've got that kind of availability and reliability. We will then trigger the revenue service demonstration test that I mentioned last time, 30 days of running at revenue service in order to demonstrate that this system is safe and reliable when it opens. If that works, then we will declare substantial completion of the project towards the end of September. And then we will work with both the Government of Ontario and the TTC to think about progressive ramp up of service on Eglinton.
So like he mentioned, after the testing, there will be a mandatory 30-day period where everything is tested. It has to demonstrate it's working before the official launch. So if you do the math there, you're looking at the end of September for the earliest possible opening date. But again, we didn't get a affirmative answer today. No yes or no on when the opening dates. Lena Bakari, it is still up in the air at this point.
All right. CJ Liu reporting live. Good to see those tea trades finally moving. CJ, thanks so much. Well, Premier Doug Ford is defending his plans to build a tunnel under Highway 401 following a report earlier this week that suggests a previous study of the project was shelved by the province back in 2021.
We're going to have a tunnel. It's going to be 19 and a half meters wide. Never been done in the world. We're going to have one level going east, underneath that, another level going west, and the bottom level with a train. That's how we're going to do it.
And there have been calls for you to release the previous work that was already done and then shelved. Will you be doing that?
I'm going to be very frank. I can't even remember back in 2019, 6-7 years ago. Everyone's wanted to put a tunnel in. Even when I was a city councillor, people wanted to tunnel the Gardiner and tunnel this and tunnel that. We're starting off fresh. It's in the hands of the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. I have confidence in both of them, and we're going to get it done.
And Ford was asked about the tunnel after a global news report earlier this week suggested that a previous study of the tunnel was conducted in 2021, but was never made public. Now, the report says an internal assessment found several problems with the tunnel proposition, including technical and financial issues and a potential risk to public safety. So earlier this year, the province announced a request for proposals seeking interested parties to help carry out a feasibility study on the tunnel. That study is not expected to be complete until February of 2027.
All right, let's stay on the roads for one more moment. It's 5:38, 28 degrees. Let's get a check on that drive home with our traffic specialist, Heather Seaman.
Hi there, Lena and Bakari. Well, we're dealing with a lot of volume. We had some earlier problems. Good news, they've been cleared. Let's go straight to the cameras. Out of camera view right now, but the 400 at Essa Road in Barrie, we had a crash there. It was in the northbound lanes. That has since been cleared just a short while ago, so traffic moving well through that stretch. 401 eastbound through Jane in the express lanes. Doesn't look like the express lane's dealing with any issues, but we had reports of a stalled vehicle. Most of that volume right now is in the collectors. The 401 through Morningside, we had the right lane blocked with a crash, so that's adding to delays. 401 eastbound collectors at Morningside. Southbound 404 DVP combination, that is heavy from Steeles to south of the 401. Just volume and more volume on the northbound Don Valley Parkway from about Danforth to north of Lawrence. And again, the typical volume on the westbound Gardiner from Jarvis to west of Bathurst. Not aware of any crashes along that stretch. Off the major routes, we have a few police investigations, one at Warden and Lawrence, another at Bloor and Dufferin, and another police investigation continues near Keele and Downsview Park Boulevard. That's it. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Heather. Well, all eyes are on Burlington's Victoria Mboko at the National Bank Open. This as the teen sensation looks to extend her remarkable wildcard run tonight.
It really has been remarkable. And CP24's Phil Perkins joins us live from Sobe Stadium with a preview of tonight's match. She's only 18, Phil.
Yeah, she's only 18, Lena Bakari, and she was the wild card heading into the National Bank Open in Montreal, by the way. We're at York University for the National Bank Open for the men's tournament. They flip-flop every year, but we thought, it's a great backdrop to talk about some tennis. But yeah, she came in as a wild card, meaning she had no seed. She had to earn her way here, and heading into this tournament, she was ranked 85th, and after she breezed through her quarterfinal, it is almost certain she's going to be ranked in the top 50. We spoke with Carl Hale, who is a tournament head of the National Bank Open, and he is committing to the fact that while she was a secret for those who work in Canada tennis, he believes that in the near future, she's going to be ranked first overall in women's tennis. And before that, though, she has to surpass her toughest test thus far. This is the highest level of semifinal she has ever been a part of, and she's going to be up against 9th-ranked Elena Rybakina out of Kazakhstan, and she won Wimbledon in 2022, and that is not going to faze the 18-year-old out of Burlington. On her way to this point, she beat Coco Gauff, who is the second-ranked woman in the WTA. She has already won 2 majors. She won the U.S. Open. She won the French Open. And Mboko beat her in straight sets in 62 minutes. It's ridiculous. So her movement up the rankings is really catching the attention of tennis enthusiasts, both young and old. Here's what they had to say with us earlier.
That was just incredible. I never expected that to happen, truly. Coco's a really good player. She's really tough, really strong. But Vicky, she's also really tough and strong, and she was able to battle right up next to her, and it was just really nice to see.
You're watching them play up there. I recently went to the National Bank Open. It was great. Like, I watched her play. I also watched Gabriel play. And I just love it. They hit the ball so hard and consistently. It's great for me to watch. It's also a learning experience for me.
And I mentioned this to Bakari on Monday night as she cruised in that quarterfinal victory. If Mboko makes it all the way to the final and pulls a Bianca Andreescu in 2019 and wins this, she could walk away with over $750,000. The match is happening at 6 o'clock, and judging by recent history and how quickly she has dispatched her opponents, by the time we come back here at 7:30, it'll be all said and done. Send it back to you.
All right, we're all cheering for Vicky. Thanks so much, Phil. It's 5:42, 28 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Well, up next, the province tries to tackle Ontario's family doctor shortage. We're going to tell you about a new compensation system just ahead.
Welcome back. Ontario's doctors are close to getting a new compensation deal that aims to address the long-standing shortage of physicians in family medicine in this province.
For the details, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. Lindsay.
Yeah, and this deal really is, the idea behind it is to attract more physicians to the field, because obviously Ontario has been struggling for years now when it comes to the number of family doctors it needs versus the number of family doctors it actually has. So this is a deal being worked out between the province of Ontario and the Ontario Medical Association, and it's close to being finalized. So it's not quite done yet. It would basically update the compensation model for doctors who are working in family health to pay them more. That has been part of the struggle over the years. A lot of family doctors are doing administrative and paperwork on their own time and not being paid for it, and also, you know, having really long appointments with some patients that have a lot of complications and not feeling as though they are adequately compensated for that. So this would be the first revamp in their payment structure in 20 years. And again, really aimed at getting doctors, the pay that they deserve for the additional work that they have to do. We did speak with the OMA CEO today about this deal and the kinks that kind of still need to be worked out in it. Here's more from the CEO.
We've come to agreement with the ministry on probably some of the key points, and that is that physicians are going to be compensated for the time they're spending, the extra time that they're spending on clinical administration. We've heard from family doctors all over the province who have said that the amount of administration they're doing is skyrocketing. And, you know, they didn't go to medical school to do that. They went to medical school because they want to treat patients. And so it's good that they'll be compensated for that. And at the same time, we're looking at ways to reduce that administration, but at least they will be compensated for it.
So this is also part of the province's plan, Lena and Bakari, to have every Ontarian have a family doctor by the year 2029. So this is starting that, really trying to get more doctors back into Ontario, because we also know a lot of them have gone south of the border to find work that is actually comparable to how they feel they should be paid as well. We did hear from Ontario's Health Minister Sylvia Jones about this deal and the goals that Ontario has in the future in terms of healthcare. Here's more from the minister.
We made another round of announcements in June of this year. Again, lots of excitement across Ontario in communities that put forward proposals and now have the financial support from the provincial government to get those teams operationalized. There will be another call for proposals, applications in September of this year. So as we expand primary care clinicians, opportunities in communities, we want to make sure that those physicians, those clinicians, those nurse practitioners are well supported, and we're doing that work with the OMA.
So again, Lena and Bakari, this deal is not finalized yet, but the OMA did tell us today that they're hoping that a deal will be finalized by spring of 2026. So just a couple of months away, really, at this point. Back to you.
Okay, reporting live, CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. Lindsay, thank you. It's 5:48, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, coming up, Prime Minister Mark Carney meets with premiers for the first time since Trump escalated his trade war with Canada last week, and Doug Ford comments on that meeting. Stay with us.
Well, Premier Doug Ford says that he simply does not trust U.S. President Donald Trump. This is after a meeting with the Prime Minister and other premiers.
Yeah, speaking at Queen's Park this afternoon, the Premier was asked about the U.S. imposing 35% tariffs on Canadian goods not covered by the existing U.S.-Canada-Mexico trade deal. And he's talking more about the future of that deal today. For more on that, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan.
Well, let's start off with this CUSMA, as it were. I know that the Americans prefer us to call it the USMCA, but we call it CUSMA here in Canada. And with the renegotiations supposed to happen with this rather banner of a trade deal that was, let's not forget, one that was created at the behest of the then President Donald Trump during his first term, and is now having to be renegotiated 10 years later. Well, according to Doug Ford, as a Premier of Ontario and also as a Canadian, he said, this is not someone that he has any trust in. He has said that before, but the bluntness today was certainly something that we have seen the Premier go in towards these blunt statements when he gets off script, but this certainly one that doesn't pull any punches. He did say ultimately Canadians can't trust the U.S. president, and that he expects that the American president will try to renege on CUSMA and have it be reopened before 2026 and potentially to the detriment of Canada. Here's more from Premier Ford.
This guy's coming at us. I just want to go on record. He's coming full bore at us. This isn't going to be a church picnic. This is going to be, let's get down to it, and we'll see what happens. I'm praying that everything's going to go fine. But if it doesn't, I got to ask the people, do you trust President Trump? I don't.
The Premier went on to say that Trump is someone that doesn't follow the rules. And admittedly, there was even video, or I should say phone calls from the Howard Stern show that were re-unearthed this past weekend and featured on Last Week Tonight that even have Donald Trump in his own words saying how he likes to circumvent the rules because they get in the way of a good deal. Now, with all of this as an aside, there is a question about what will be happening in the coming days, because we've gone past the original deadline of August the 1st. We have these 35% tariffs on top of the other tariffs that were put in place on specific industries. So there is a question of whether or not we can trust the American president, but there's no question right now that Canada does need ultimately a deal. Back to you both.
All right. Andrew Brennan reporting live. Thank you, Andrew. Well, tourism in the city appears to be recouping some losses we saw in the first quarter of the year, but it's still down from 2024 amid economic and geopolitical uncertainty.
Destination Toronto says that visitors coming to the city, it was down 4% on a year-over-year basis from January to March. However, that is typically a slow period in tourism, and the warmer weather seems to have helped the industry. In June, visitor arrivals was just 2% lower. And it appears that the next couple of months could be even better.
This summer in Toronto, there are a number of major meetings and conventions that are attracting, tens of thousands of delegates to come to the city. And those individuals that come here, they spend time, of course, going to that meeting or convention, but they are also spending time eating in Toronto restaurants, staying in Toronto hotels, exploring the city, seeing our attractions, and, maybe catching a concert while they're here. So, and they often bring their families along with them. We're seeing a real mix of business and leisure travel as one of the biggest trends within the travel industry. And Toronto is definitely really well positioned to capitalize on that.
It's now 5:55, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Okay, up next, American rapper Machine Gun Kelly stops by Square One to greet fans this afternoon.
Welcome back. Rapper Machine Gun Kelly held a meet and greet with fans at Square One this afternoon.
Yeah, GK was at Sunrise Records. This was part of a promotion for his latest album, Lost Americana. This is his 7th studio album. So dozens of people lined up for a chance to meet the Cleveland native. Some even left crying after meeting him.
Seeing a lot of tears. Are you okay right now?
I'm very excited that I met him.
Great to meet you.
Oh my God.
You're shaking right now. You're crying. Your mom says it's okay for us to interview. What does he mean to you?
I don't know. Just I've just been listening to him since the starting of Cliche, and I'm kind of a new fan, but I love his music. He's a big inspiration to me, so I'm really happy I met him.
What was it like to actually meet him? It's one thing to come here and wait in line. You've been here for hours. Was he everything you thought he would be?
1,000%. Because a lot of people are saying he's a very kind and generous person. Now meeting him, he is 1,000% is.
That is amazing. Someone needs to check on that young fan. Just make sure she's okay. You're watching Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
After fleeing persecution in Kenya, a Toronto faith leader and her 2 young daughters are set to be deported tomorrow. That's up next on CTV News at 6. Thank you for watching.